Village Board of Trustees to order on Monday, January 20th. It is 6:30. We have a quorum and the agenda was properly posted. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 4 is public appearances, public's opportunity to speak on any subject that is not a specific agenda item. This evening we have Nicholas Hess, lives on East Parkway Street, or Parkview Street, expressing concern over the lack of renewable energy plan in our village comprehensive master plan. Nicholas, do you want to speak? Or?
I'd love to, yes.
Okay, come over to the mic and have a seat if you're comfortable, or stand if you're comfortable, whichever you choose.
Good evening. This is really just an issue I want to bring up to the forefront of your minds. It's really about renewable and sustainable energy. It's something that I know everyone has heard and talked about, and it's something that's never been acted upon at all levels, federal, state, municipalities, even personal. People don't really act upon it. I think we can make that change. I think we can, if we choose to act on it, we can do it, and we can make a difference in the global climate. Right? I looked through the comprehensive master plan of Cottage Grove, and I saw no mention of renewable energy. I did only look through Chapter 1 and Chapter 7, looking about the public utilities and the public buildings. So maybe it's in there somewhere, I'm not sure. But I saw no mention of it. So I'm hoping that if I bring this to your guys' minds, you can think about that the next time we try and change, the Planning Commission can look at that. Maybe we can incorporate some changes, make up a long-term plan, a 10, 20, 30-year plan. Having nothing doesn't help at all. At least talking about it and putting a plan together maybe is the first step. I sent you all an email before this meeting earlier this afternoon, and I just kind of highlighted some of the different things that you could do. Solar panels on the roof of municipalities. Alliant Energy, which I know you contract your energy from, has a program called Second Nature, where you can get all your electricity through renewable energy needs. They charge 1 extra penny per kilowatt hour. It causes, I am 100% into that program myself. Causes me $5 more extra on my utilities every month. There's lots of different other things we can do. I highlighted some of them in my email. But the first thing we got to do is just think long term. I know Mr. Lundberg, when you stopped by my house a couple of years ago, you talked about long-term plan at Cottage Grove. Well, I think this is something that's really lacking. And I know, Ms. Radcliffe, you're the supervisor for Dane County, and I know you might probably have an inside look on what Dane County is doing with the big airport project and the solar farm there. They're saying that 40% of their buildings are going to be running on renewable energy in 2020. And I go, okay, if Dane County is actually trying to lead the way, we can at least do our part too, at least try and make a plan moving forward. So I've tried done my homework. I want this to be real. I don't want this to be another voice. I want to actually work with you guys if I can. I would love to be a part of this, and maybe in the next year, if we can't get it as a budget line item, and for 2021 budget, maybe 2022. Into the capital projects or in some part of it. But really, so just an issue I want to bring to you guys' mind. Hopefully you can have it in the forefront of your mind. Maybe we can make some changes. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Nicholas. All right, moving on then, discuss and consider the meeting minutes from the regular village board meeting from January 6, 2020. Any corrections, edits, or is there a move to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the Monday, January 6th, 2020 Board of Trustees meeting as presented.
I'll second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain?
I abstain.
Motion carries. We'll move on then to item 6A is a presentation from Cindy Clinton Nelson about the 2020 Hot Trot routes, I believe.
I'm just here to inform you about the 2020 Hot to Trot, which is the local half marathon, 5K, and kids race that takes place during the Fireman's Festival Father's Day weekend every year. This is our 9th annual race. Last year we gave $10,000 to the fire department. I think it's been over $35,000 in the history of our race. The half marathon starts at 7 a.m. With the 5K to follow at about 7:30. The race routes are staying the same. We have plans to meet with EMS and the police closer to the race date. So I provided you with both the outline of the half marathon and the 5K. And all of our safety measures are still in place. So really nothing is changing compared to last year. We had almost 600 people last year that did our race, so we're really hoping to kind of break that 600 mark and raise even more money. And I guess I can take questions if there are questions about it. Wes, is that the race director, if he has anything to add?
Any questions from board members?
Do you have a goal for how many people you'd hope to participate?
I think we hope to break that 600 mark. We had 572 last year. And we're really going to try and push. We have a little bit better marketing plan, I think, this year. So we're going to try and push our numbers for the half marathon and try and kind of broaden our appeal for that race. We are offering a family 4-pack discount for the 5K to try and promote more community to get families out and running. And we do have a virtual option. So if you are gone Father's Day weekend and you'd like to participate, there's a virtual option where you can run the race wherever you are.
Oh, that's cool.
So over half of the participants last year in the 5K were local, Cottage Grove area, Pomona, and about 80% for the half marathon were outside the community. So that's why we're targeting and spreading it out a little bit further. So longer distances are more appealing to a larger area versus the 5K shorter distance.
And there's only so many people in Cottage Grove that run the half level. So we're trying to, definitely increase that.
So I'm not one of them that runs even a half mile.
Yeah.
It'll be real here. But do you have those chip? When my friend runners always want to know if the race is going to be chip timed.
Yeah, so we do. Our bibs are kind of like implanted with a chip, so it is chip timed. And we have Race Joy, which is a tool that runners and then their friends and family can use. So it's a kind of a GPS tracker, and it gives you notifications of where you are in the race, so what mile marker you're at. Cool. And then friends can send you motivational inspiration, I guess, to finish strong. So it alerts you at every point.
We also have the virtual.
I did mention the virtual race, yeah.
Is there a walking portion of the race?
The 5K you can walk.
Yep. And so the half marathon starts at 7. The 5K is about 7:30. We expect the first finishers for the half around 8:15 probably. For the 5K a little bit before 8, and then our award ceremony is usually around like 8:30. We're wrapped up by 10:30. We have to be, just because of the parade.
AM?
AM.
People
yes,
have to run that. I'm trying to imagine a half marathon and I can't.
I mean, typically I'd say the average time for a half marathon is probably around 2 hours.
Oh, okay.
So
You
and
can
then
walk an entire half marathon in about 3 minutes.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah. So, and people are welcome to walk the half if they can make it in time before the parade starts. But we do have lots of walkers for the 5K. And then our kids run too, actually is very popular. We had, I think, over 100 kids run it last year, so, which is a 1K race just around the block.
And you always need lots of volunteers.
We do need lots of volunteers, so we had about 75 people volunteer last year, and we're always pushing for volunteers in June, desperate for people to please sign up and volunteer. And it's an easy time commitment too. It's only, and it can be an hour, a couple of hours. Wes and I are out there very early in the morning because we do race setup and stuff.
So I'm working with a lot of the booster clubs at the high school. So MG cross country, and so I'm working with coaches to get some of the kids to volunteer. And we kind of got a pay per head. So kind of give and take. So if they get a certain number of kids that will volunteer, we're going to give some money back to the booster club. So it kind of works both ways. So volunteers is what makes everything happen. So you guys want to push the volunteers, just go to the website and sign up.
So website, Facebook?
Yep, so we have a website, we have a registration site, and there's a Facebook page that you can like. And there's a promotion going on. We have multiple promotions kind of throughout this first half of the year. I'm trying to get people to sign up. I think we almost have almost 200
signed up
already, which is good. And we do also partner with Parks and Rec. So they sponsor that Couch to 5K program, which will I think, be in their February guide, and then that gets started probably in April-ish. And then we're hoping to kind of, again, build a little bit more community and start some fun runs / maybe some build-up training runs on Sunday mornings. If you would like a postcard, I if you can distribute these now. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. All right, moving on then, item B, presentation of Civilian Gallantry Award to Jude Wolf.
So this is Mr. Jude Wolf, and the reason we're here tonight is on Saturday, on December 14th, 2019, in the village of Cottage Grove, Officer Brian Carter, who's in the audience here, of the Cottage Grove Police Department, was attempting to detain an 18-year-old subject for a disturbance and suspicious activity at a gas station in the village. The subject was acting oddly, refused to leave the gas station, and after being refused to purchase tobacco, was scaring and harassing customers. Upon Officer Carter contacting the subject, he refused Officer Carter's orders to stop and kept walking down a nearby street. Officer Carter then attempted to stop the subject by grabbing at his arm. The subject responded by attempting to strike Officer Carter and pushed him. A struggle ensued in the middle of the street, with both falling to the ground, and at one point the subject attempted to grab the officer's gun. At this point, Jude, who was watching the situation unfold from the gas station nearby, pulled his vehicle out onto the street, blocked traffic, exited his vehicle, and physically intervened in helping Officer Carter arrest the subject. There was no hesitation on Jude's part, and his physical intervention was effective in moving the subject from on top of the officer to a position where he could be handcuffed. Therefore, the Civilian Gallantry Award from the Village and Police Department is presented to Mr. Jude Wolf for his quick and decisive actions on December 14th, where he physically intervened in a struggle between a police officer and a subject, quickly resulting in the subject being placed in custody. Mr. Wolf's gallantry is to be commended due to his lack of regard for his own safety and the civic duty he didn't hesitate to provide to an officer in need. Jude, to his credit, didn't want to be recognized for us. I had to kind of twist his arm to get him to come here, but this is the type of thing that doesn't happen for us very often, and he intervened without one moment's hesitation. Probably didn't even consider what he was getting himself potentially involved in. But now he's probably going to be on one of those cop shows. So, as part of that, here's the narrative for that. This is the Gallantry Award that acknowledges your civilian gallantry for that date. And we have a very nice award that we had made up for you. So this is a pleasure for us to do this and acknowledge someone that jumps in and helps a police officer. You never know as a police officer when you're in a situation where your life may be in danger and you're the only person working, if someone's actually going to jump in and help you. Well, he did. So I think that's commendable, and that's why we're here today. Thank you. And you don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting.
All right, we'll move on to new business then. Discuss and consider the operator's license application for Jessica Evans for the licensing year July 2019 through June 2020. Let's see anything in the background, Chief? At least in the packet.
There is no problem.
Okay. Do we have a motion then for that?
I'll move to approve Jessica Evans for licensing year July 2019 through June 2020.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. All right, then we'll move on to reports from village boards, commissions, committees. The first one up is Public Works and Properties Committee. JJ, I don't know if you want to come up. While you're doing that, We covered old business in here, potential crosswalk option for Cottage Grove Road around where Sandpiper is. We had some concerns there of people crossing by the post office. It's the nearest spot in which we can get people safely across 4 lanes because there is a median or a boulevard area or step off spot. You can stop in the middle. We continue to discuss the road salt options for potential pilot program. There we're looking at a reduction in road salt and trying to move that forward. And so JJ continues to work with a few areas within the village in order to move that continuing forward. New business, the recommendation for the MOU for the MG School District. This is in regards to Cottage Grove School, having the Village Hall as a short-term evacuation site if need be. And that was approved by the committee. Discuss and consider potential interim intern. This is an engineering intern for the summer of 2020. The committee was supportive of that. Beginning to have discussion about potential village leaf collection program because we continue to hear voices from citizens around that, as well as it is an issue that we need to keep those out of our wetlands. So this is a potential way of doing that. And then looking at potential changes for the compost drop-off. Anything I missed or you want to add to?
Nope.
Sorry, I made you come up then.
You did a fantastic job.
All right. Thanks, JJ. All right, we'll move on then to Plan Commission. We have several discuss and consider items that were brought before the Plan Commission. The first one is item A, discuss and consider request from Grey Wolf for the approval of a general development plan for a hotel located on parcel 0711-041-2120-1 in the Commerce Park.
Good evening.
Good evening. You want to introduce yourself real quick and then those that don't know.
This is Todd Rizzo from Grey
Yeah, my name is Todd Rizzo. I'm Senior Vice President at Grey Wolf Partners, and I handle other new development projects. Grey Wolf is the applicant for the PUD application for the hotel project. Grey Wolf is a full-service real estate company. We have offices here in Cottage Grove. So tonight we're requesting approval of the PUD that will allow us to develop an 82-room Comfort Suites hotel on about a 1.3 acre vacant parcel that's on Landmark Drive. Grey Wolf owns the 1.3 acre vacant parcel, and we also own the retail building to the north, and we're also part owners of the BB Jack's restaurant that would be directly to the north of the property. So this identifies the location of where the project is proposed. This is the site layout for the project. This is the south side of the building, which would have the main entry for the hotel, with the majority of the parking being in the front. There's approximately 98, 95 parking stalls that are part of this project. The footprint of the hotel itself is about 11,400 square feet. This project does not require any new curb cuts. We'll be utilizing the existing curb cuts between the Quick Trip and the one that leads into the retail facility that's there. The 5-story structure that we're proposing for the Choice Hotel is part of a new prototype that they've just recently released. It's not actually released to the public yet, but the design builder group that we're working with has a close relationship with Choice Hotels, the franchise, and released this to us. So if this project is approved, this will probably be the first Choice product in their new Comfort Suites brand in the United States, which we're pretty excited about. The facility that you're looking at has 3 different colors on it primarily, and they represent 3 different material types at this point. The brick would be the darker gray color. The darker charcoal is the brick. The gray color would be like an architectural metal, and the white would be predominantly ephes, but a portion of it could also be some architectural metal. The hotel would be a suites-only hotel that has a plan for 44 king suites and 38 double queen suites. So this is the main south elevation that you're looking at. That would be a perspective looking at it from Landmark Drive. This would face north at the retail building, the BB Jack's. And this would be a perspective looking at Highway N. So our renderings are somewhat simplistic because we're in the early stages of the design. This is a little more detailed rendering that was developed by Choice that shows a little more of the articulation and details that come along with what we're trying to get to. We just haven't gotten that far with the basic design, that we put together. So that's sort of where we're going with the design. And then not part of this application, but the goal would be to develop a shared area between the hotel and the restaurant with some outdoor seating, maybe some fire pits, and a little more excitement between there that the guests of the hotel as well as the people that visit the restaurant could go to as well. The hotel itself, although a limited surface hotel, would have indoor pool, it would have conference meeting room, breakfast would be available for the guests daily, and we're excited about the project.
When you say suites only, is that like a kitchenette, or what are you talking about when you say?
There's like an extra seating area.
Okay.
So it would either be a bedroom with one king and then a seating area. And that seating area has the ability to be turned into a secondary bed if needed. And then in the double queens, you'd have 2 queens, but also that secondary seating area for sitting or transitioning into another bed. It's not what you'd maybe think as an extended stay environment.
So I think we probably talked about some parking, I'm sure parking questions have been brought up. Are you planning to have like an employee section of parking? It's pretty easy to access from Landmark Drive, but then drive around, and for BB Jack's perhaps also, just to kind of free up some customer parking.
Yeah, no, I don't think we've thought through the whole thing in detail, but I think the goal would be for the workers to park in this back area to save, the front here as well as this area for guests. The parking there was a question that came up either at the last Plan Commission meeting or the Architectural Review Committee that there is some existing parking right here, and a lot of people are using it. It's actually, I think, predominantly used by Johnson Tack. But this would be controlled by the hotel, and we would probably have to police that a little better going forward, but given that it's available right now. The prior developers that developed this area in some of the facilities built that for reasons I don't know, but that would be, it's going to be striped and configured slightly, but would be for the hotel only. And then if we need to, yeah, we would try to, just like at the BB Jack's, try to get folks to park, what we perceive to be behind the facility. So we envision most people up here and then getting on the sidewalks and then walking towards the main lobby.
And in the planning committee minutes, it looks like you talked about having the sidewalk on Landmark Drive be 6 feet wide.
Correct.
Can you so Landmark is the street over
Yeah,
here?
right there.
And the point or the reason for that was so that...
Just so if cars are parked here, even though our stalls are designed to handle the complete vehicle, sometimes people pull too far ahead and the front of their bumper will hang on to the sidewalk.
Okay.
So I think the village has a preference to keep that a minimum of 5 feet, so if we go a little bit bigger, that overhead would still preserve 5 feet for
Okay.
people walking on the sidewalk.
Okay.
For crossing landmark, is there a crosswalk then at the stop sign, or how would we, if someone's staying at the hotel and going to meetings at a business across landmark, where would they cross? At the four-way stop, or is there?
You mean down by the gas station?
Yeah.
I don't really answer that. Maybe Aaron does.
They just walk across the street.
They would
That's the
dart-
closest
they would
one.
dart
Certainly a lot of
across the
people
Sure.
jaywalk
So there's
across there.
something to
but
look at.
The actual designated crossing would be at the intersection.
I mean,
I mean, it
depending
could
on
be
how
in
things
in the
go.
future, yeah, some
Sure.
form of cross-hatching or,
Could be something we talk to Public Works about if there's a good spot to put one somewhere else.
Hey, Aaron, has the fire department looked at these plans and have they provided any comments?
I know some of them were at the open house. We had these guys check the turning radius for all the trucks, and that all worked out. I think when we get the next level with all the engineering detail and, you know, where the water is, if they need hydrants, that kind of thing, that's when we'll.
That's what they involved. Okay, thanks.
I kind of had a question about just the general architectural review committee, because it looked like in your memo, they were concerned about the types of surface or on the outside, that ethos would get dirty over time. So does the architectural review committee only review the plan at first, or do they meet and like a condo association to make sure things are maintained over time?
No,
It's
it's,
not really necessarily to this project, just general.
No, it's just when there's new construction happening, whether it's a new building or an addition or something like that.
It's purely a review to make sure that they're following the deed restrictions. So that's what the primary action is, and then they're welcome to provide other feedback and advisory comments, and those are not binding, it's just information for plan commission and board to consider.
I guess my question is, does, as part of, if this advances and we come back with the PIP application, does that more specific drawing go to the architectural review committee? Okay. So there is another chance for them to get into the more of the details that would be provided.
Yeah, so this is a two-step process. This is more of a conceptual level. We sign off on that, then they'll go back with, you know, more detail throughout the project.
And have you already gotten feedback from the landowners within 400 feet? I know the map's in our packet, but did you already?
They did a neighborhood meeting. There were some of the other businesses around. I know Arby's and Johnson Health Tech were there. There's a neighbor across the street that came and had some questions that those guys answered. None of them came back for the public hearing the next day, so I
Okay.
think Grey Wolf did a good job answering the questions.
Any concerns on their part brought up with that?
The neighbor across the street, I think, mostly just didn't want a big building across the street from them. He had some concerns about lighting and things like that. I think a lot of the other conversation was just about parking.
Parking and just the general traffic on Landmark Drive. Some people were concerned where everybody was going to, or what that would do. One of my comments was I thought the hotel would not conflict as much with some of the other business activity during the day, that most of those people come and leave, and during the day it's mostly empty. Some folks felt that that may not be a valid response, but
The ARC did want to review kind of the amount of parking throughout the block there from the Grey Wolf building all the way down to Arby's and Quick Trip, and you put it all together, there does appear to be enough for all of those uses on the site. So.
And there's extra spaces too, it's not like just enough, there's like 10 or so extra spaces.
And the ARC, one of their concerns was about landscaping around the building, and they were even willing to give up a couple of parking spots if that meant they could get a little more landscaping. But that's something we'll look at the next level.
To make it a little bit more appealing from Main Street.
yeah, so we're still looking at that and trying to come up with some ideas.
The bike path on N, is that bike path on N now, or is it sidewalk, or is that part of next year's bike path?
Sidewalk up there.
It's sidewalk right now.
Sidewalk right
Sidewalk.
there, but it would be like that.
Okay, and that is figured in on that?
This right here?
Yeah. Okay,
It's not drawn to scale,
okay.
I mean, I think it is, I mean,
Is it?
it's shown as a 5-foot sidewalk. We
but it's right
had our
next to the
surveyors go out
street.
there and resurvey everything, so I think that is reflective
Okay.
of what's out there in location.
Any other questions from the board?
You ready for a motion?
Certainly.
No? All right. Well, I'll move approval for the general development plan for a hotel located at the parcel indicated in the agenda in the Commerce Park with the conditions as put forth by the Plan Commission.
Motion second. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstained? Motion carries. Thanks, Todd.
Thank you.
Item B is discuss and consider a request from Dundren's Distillery for a conditional use permit for an outdoor seating area at their facility located at 300 Progress Drive. I don't know if we have anybody from Dundren's here.
Looks like they're not. This was approved at the Plan Commission level. They're looking to do outdoor space, currently fenced-in area. It had previously been used for car storage for the business that had been there before. They're looking at an enclosed bar, new bathrooms, and a stage out there. The conditions that were applied at the Plan Commission, any amplified sounds out there would have to come back for the amplified noise permit that the village offers. Prior to, they're going to look at fixing up the parking lot around there prior to painting the new parking lines. They would have to submit that to us just to verify the number of spaces in the layout. And prior to doing any actual work, we'll want to touch base with the village engineer, get a little bit more specific about the actual grading surfaces, what's turf, what's gravel, that kind of thing.
Anything else here?
I don't think so.
You know, was
It was
the stage supposed to be, have a roof on it? I can't remember.
I don't think they were at that level of detail yet.
So they are building the stage to have outdoor performances. So it looks in the comments down here, so they could have one permit approved that covers a whole season of outdoor performances if they know the schedule, or they would come on a case-by-case basis. So how
Yeah,
does
I guess
the-
that's ultimately kind of up to you guys how you want to handle it. If it's going to be kind of a regular Friday night from X o'clock to Y o'clock, then maybe they'd want to ask for a series of those. If it's more of a specialized occasional thing, then maybe they'd come in each time. It's kind of up to you how you'd want to approve it, I think.
Do they have any sense of how frequently they were hoping to have music? I didn't see it in the notes.
Not sure. Again, that would all be handled with the noise permits.
Right now, our ordinance calls for no amplified music from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m., is that correct?
I believe so.
Is it different on the weekdays and weekends?
Not what I saw.
I don't think so.
9 a.m., 10 p.m. to 9 a.m. Oh, wait, that's, nope, 7 a.m. is there. That's for construction or repair of buildings, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m.
I mean, it's kind of a significant investment, so I'd be interested to see like how often they're planning on having music, or will people be using it if there's not music just to sit
I
outside?
think it could be weather permitting, yeah. That was the-
So then they'd be playing music outside even if there's not a band? I guess I'm not sure. I would,
You have to have the noise amplification for your play music.
yeah, playing music on like a speaker, even if it's not a band, they still need the.
Yeah, because it's a business. We have a couple residents that voiced their opinions on this particular item. Jeff Stodmeyer. Jeff,
Yep.
You would like to speak?
Yes, I would.
Okay. It's right next to Aaron.
Good evening, my name is Jeff Stottmuller. I live at 401 Clearbrook Terrace, basically the corner of Clearbrook and Bonnie Road. In other words, I live on the other side of the block from Downridge Distilling. I first learned of this from the article in the Herald Independent and have done my research since then. Reviewed the video footage from the Plan Commission to just get a better understanding of things. And certainly the distillery, it makes sense for them to be in this industrial park. It's a proper fit. When we moved into the area, we were concerned about what might be built on the vacant land, didn't want to move next to a potential Al's liquid fertilizer or something of that ilk. And we were okay with the zoning. Understood that they were approved for a conditional use permit to have a slightly larger tasting area with respect to the percentage that's there. Again, makes sense if you've been there. It's basically in a truck bay. What concerns me is there was a zoning change in 2018 that changed for the planned industrial zone that appeared to have come about based on a bar that wanted to have indoor and outdoor volleyball courts, maybe out by the Interstate Commerce Park.
Oakstown.
And so that now applies to this area. And in reviewing this, the documentation I saw from the Plan Commission was that the land use was accessory outdoor commercial entertainment, saying that's partially or wholly outside of an enclosed building and are incidental to the principal activity of the business. So incidental, in my mind, is it's subordinate to the primary use. Well, the primary use is manufacturing. And I think you could make an argument that you'd need more employees to operate this 11,000 square foot space than you would to manufacture. The space, in fact, the gentleman from Grey Wolf said the footprint of the hotel is 11,400 square feet. This is 11,000 square feet. So they're essentially asking to expand their tasting room by a factor of 12. Which really changes the fabric of that area, in my opinion. The addition of a stage that's 12 by 24, just to kind of visualize that, that's that back wall to the Wisconsin flag and even with about mat. So for all of us that have been to festival and seen the bands in the band stage, that means that pretty much anybody that plays at festival could play on this stage. And that stage is 50% closer to my house in the general neighborhood than festival. And so I think that they all have good intentions. I haven't had a chance to talk to them because they haven't been open where I could go chat with them, just to be neighborly. But without knowing, what kind of music are you going to have there? How much is it going to be amplified? I look at the sound amplification permit. It's pretty vague. And so this could be really loud and it could be throughout the summer. And if you would consider, in fact, a seasonal approval, that means they potentially could have as many concerts as they wish. I would like to see them be very productive in their business. I think incidental, if I think of incidental use, think of the 10 to 12 outside tables at 1855. That to me is incidental to the rest of the business. So, I understand having that much space, but a stage that size and everything is seemingly a bit much. So, I would ask that you give some consideration to have them describe in more detail what they're looking for, Certainly there are specific hours at which music can be played. I would encourage you to also consider what an appropriate sound level is. Certainly in their documentation, they cited the fact that there's not much residence area there. Well, all the way down Progress, there's a number of townhouses and privately owned homes, as well as in our direction. And again, understanding the sound carry, you guys all have copies of the email I sent you. The sound carry from the festival is quite significant. So that's what I have to say. Thank you for your time.
All right, thanks, Jeff. All right, then we have Beth Rodwell on Bonnie Road. Beth, do you wish to speak?
Just to briefly piggyback on what Jeff said, I live on Bonnie Road, about 3 blocks north of Progress Drive. And my concern about the distillery building this outdoor stage is that in the past, we can hear the music from the festival, and when 1855 would have outdoor music, I could hear it from 1855. So the festival's one weekend out of the summer. It's a lovely time. And as was said, how often will they have outdoor entertainment? How loud? How late? And how, good weather is beyond Labor Day. This could go on till, Halloween or something, have a good time. But please consider that our neighbors up and down the street, we can hear a lot of things. I'm not sure, someone asked about like a roof, how this is constructed and how you would maintain that amplification. I don't know how, and that it's facing south, doesn't matter, in my opinion, which way it's facing. We can hear it, so, thank you.
Thanks, Beth. Any other questions or discussion?
It's too bad that nobody's here.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised it didn't
Yeah,
show
I've
up.
been at a lot of, any of the other meetings when we've considered. I mean, I think it might be worthwhile to ask him to come back to our next meeting.
I would motion to table this until our very next meeting and invite the distillery to come and speak and answer our questions.
And maybe we can give them some questions ahead of time so that some of these that have been raised.
I'll second.
Okay, it's motion second to table. Any further discussion?
Aaron, you looks like you took a lot of notes.
Yep.
I think it'd be, good to get them some of those, so I can have some answers.
Any further discussion? Having none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Items tabled. Item C is discuss and consider request from Monona School District for a site plan for an amendment for approximately 1,500 square feet addition to Glacial Drumlin Middle School cafeteria located at 801 Damascus Trail.
We've got Wayne Schramm from Epstein Ewan, he's the architect on the project, and Jared Rosing from the school district. This is your application set if you want to scroll through whatever stuff there.
Good evening. My name is McLean Schramm. I'm one of the architects working on the Glacial Drumlin School project. What we will be presenting to you this evening is an addition to the existing middle school that is expanding their cafeteria. The red on the screen is the proposed addition to the existing building. The addition is doing a couple things for the school district. First being that they are expanding their serving lines. They currently have 2 serving lines and will be adding 2 additional serving lines to help expedite the process of getting students their food quicker, so they have more time eating their lunch rather than waiting in line for their food. The second thing that we're doing is expanding the square footage of the cafeteria, which is giving us some more seating capacity, giving us a better functional use of the space by allowing us to have some flexibility of the seating, flexibility of the layout, and maintaining a unobstructed corridor through the cafeteria, including egressing. On the exterior of the building,
It's a touch screen too, if
oh,
it's
it is.
easier.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so for the exterior of the building, what you see here is where the old cafeteria curtain wall is. The area that has the black roof is our proposed addition. So we are pulling that curved glass out in the addition, which aligns with this existing curved portion of the original building. We are maintaining, or the addition is going to be using brick to match the existing brick, glass and storefront to match the existing. So when all said and done, it will look like it was a part of the original building. And I wanted to, so this is a photo of how it is today. And let's see if I can get both of these. So there's the curtain wall as it is today. And then from this point over to about this point is the addition. So this is what you would see. And I wanted to take an opportunity to clarify a couple things from 2 weeks ago's Plan Commission meeting. So this addition is a 2,400 square feet. The 1,500 square feet is the expansion of the cafeteria square foot in itself. So the additional seating area. So the other square footage would be the 2 serving lines and a vestibule in this area. The other question that I received that I'd like to clarify is whether or not we have any security safety glazing. And we do have glazing, laminated glazing, safety glazing planned for this area to protect from possible intruders into the building. With that being said, that's what we're proposing and why we're proposing it, so I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So you want to build that this summer? Is that the plan?
Yes.
And that'll be enough space to meet needs that you guys are looking for?
Yep. Yes.
What does the school district see for like lunch periods? Because I think right now they start lunch about 10:30ish and go past 1 o'clock. Is it gonna condense more towards like the noon hour?
We'll have a couple of things that will be happening over the next couple of years. Is obviously 5th grade will be moved out, so that will automatically eliminate one of those lunch periods. We're also then looking at just scheduling in general. Right now we are very specific that all 6th grade pretty much has lunch together, all 7th grade and all 8th grade, and looking at a model that maybe incorporates a couple grades together, not all the kids obviously, but looking at if there are kids that are taking music and kids that are not, how can we flip that around so we can condense that down. The biggest challenge that we have is only having 2 serving lines in that school for over 900 students. So there is a mathematical equation that they have us look at. So by looking at those 4, having 4, adding on the second 2 should get people through. Originally, when we had set out for the referendum and worked through the long-range facility plan, the original plan was to take out that stage was in there. In the meantime, and then put 2 serving lines against where the stage was. However, that stage is now being used a lot more. And so looking at it as a long-term fix instead of a Band-Aid type of fix, that's the purpose that we're coming in asking for that addition side of it. It will really, and then in addition to that, it's going to be different types of seating that we'll be introducing to our students. So it won't be just the straight, 16 capacity cafeteria tables. There'll be booths and stand-up. So those are the things that we'll start introducing once we get the addition as well.
Any other questions?
I would move to approve. We're ready for a motion. Move to approve the request for the site plan amendment for the additional. So do you want the motion to include 1,500 square feet addition or 2,400?
The 1,500 square foot addition, I believe, is a typo.
Okay.
The entire addition is just over 2,400, and the 1,500 is referring to the square footage, the expanded square footage of the cafeteria itself.
Okay. So we'll go with just over 2,400 square feet addition to the GD middle school cafeteria.
Is there a second? Second. Motion second. Is there any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, discuss and consider a request from the Village of Cottage Grove Park and Rec Department for the approval of site amendment for Bakken Park to permit the installation of a new shelter and a splash pad.
Dan Schmidt here from MSA. He's been working on the park project with Sean, who is hiding in the back, but you can ask him things too. Go ahead and take it away.
We'll keep this fairly short. It's probably a fairly common project to most of you. The Park Department is looking at putting in a splash pad and shelter at Bakken Park in fulfillment of the original master plan from several years ago. The shelter building and splash pad are currently out for bid as of Thursday, with bids coming in on the 12th of February. I do have a couple photos of the splash pad, which we forgot to bring along to the Plan Commission 2 weeks ago. But just a couple quick renderings of the building itself. It's a masonry structure with two different types of masonry veneer, a brick and a stone look on the exterior. It's a asphalt coated metal shingle, so it's a durable, maintenance-free shingle on that side. And the overall design and style of the building is to be as low maintenance as possible for parks, to be able to maintain that facility long term, as well as providing the mechanical space necessary to run the recirculating splash pad, and provide a flexible servery area for park users to be able to rent out if they're having a picnic or family gathering, or park can do some small programming of serving prepackaged or kind of pre-prepared foods. It's not a full kitchen, but an area to serve from. There are men's, women's, and then a family restroom. That family restroom has a changing area for seating bench that can also be used, I think, to change adults, in addition to the child diaper changing stations that are in both restrooms. This rendering also shows the proposed miracle field in the background, which is not part of this project. And then these are just a couple images of the different types of site furnishings that are currently in the design. So some metal benches, trash cans, bike racks, stone seats around the splash pad area, ADA accessible picnic tables for underneath the shelter and over by the splash pad itself. Drinking fountain with a bottle filler that will help serve the Glacial Drumlin Trail as well as the users of the park, and a shower that's required for the splash pad, but also just a good feature to have for rinsing kids off when they've been running around and playing in a splash pad, or even in the playground itself. There will be two permanent fixed shades, one on the east and one on the west side of the splash pad, to kind of provide a little respite for family members who are hanging out with the kids. And then on the main plaza area,
There's a kiosk that will provide information on the park itself, on trail user items, promoting events for parks, things like that. If there are any specific questions, we can answer those.
The other restrooms, the men's and the women's have a space for changing?
There would be room in the stalls. They don't have a specific changing platform in there at this time from what I recall, but you would be able to utilize both the back or ADA stalls, which would be large enough to change in and use as a changing room in addition to the family restroom.
I just worry about fall risk of people losing their balance. I don't know, you lose your balance, put your pants on, but, could there be, it looks like there's a changing, it's like a bench or something, just something for people to, I don't know, if that's something that could be considered, or if these plans are already done and finalized.
It could be possibly considered something that would mount to the walls. It wouldn't be able to be a fixed permanent feature based on the amount of space that's in the restrooms, but.
The family restroom does have a fixed permit, right?
Yep.
Yeah, for both kids and adults, correct?
Yeah, so it's you have a larger version. It's the rectangle on the bottom left of the plan there. The ADA accessible stalls would have grab bars in different places, so that would be one thing to utilize to stabilize oneself.
Did you say that shower is going to be part of the shelter, or is that over by the splash pad?
It's over by the splash pad
Okay.
itself, so it doesn't show up on this rendering. This is one of the original concepts, but it's over at the entrance to the splash pad, so the water will drain back into the system.
Okay.
And that, as well as ADA accessibility, as a low foot wash, a middle range for someone that would be in a wheelchair, and then a standard height shower.
Okay, thank you.
Can you go back to the floor plan?
The shower's not heated, right?
No, that will be tap water, so that will be chilly. The splash pad itself is recirculating, as I mentioned, so that will, as the season goes or time goes on, warm up a little bit, so it won't be quite as cold as you would see from a flow-through system.
So the little jet out of purple.
This area.
What is that?
That is just a recess. That is currently a diaper change, kids changing station.
Okay, so a bench couldn't go there.
I
see a chair in the picture, right?
It potentially could.
Because I see this, do I see a similar thing in the other bathroom?
The dashed line, that kind of half circle, is the diaper changing station.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the request around Village of Cottage Grove Park and Rec Department for approval of a site plan amendment for Bakken Park to permit installation of a new shelter and splash pad.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. Item E is discuss and consider proposed amendment for the Village of Cottage Grove zoning ordinance to create a new single-family residence zoning district with a minimum lot size of 7,500 square feet.
So this was recommended in the comp plan when we made that change late last year. The zoning ordinance currently has one single-family district, SR4, which has a minimum lot size of 10,000 square feet. As we were going through the comp plan, we compared that to other communities in the area, and that was far and away the largest minimum of any of the communities around. So the idea here is to create a second single-family district with a smaller minimum lot size, 7,500 square feet. Would allow for a slightly more affordable product, a little bit higher density. It's not replacing the other district. We'd still continue to use both moving forward. The comp plan identified some areas where this slightly higher density might be more appropriate. It's not changing anything that's zoned SR4 right now.
So this is a specific piece of land. that were to be
No, it would be a new section of the ordinance that could be applied to future subdivisions.
Okay.
I just want to double check, parkland dedication is tied to the number of units in a plat? So it's is it 15 units gets 1 acre or something like that? So it would still, you could potentially get more park dedication because it's denser
To an
units?
extent, yeah, but there's more units in a smaller space.
Okay.
Which is kind of what you'd want anyway.
Right, because you don't have that space in your yard, you go to community space to.
I'll make a motion to approve the amendment to the zoning ordinance to create a new single-family residential zoning district with minimum lot size of 7,500 square feet.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion second. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Aye.
Anybody abstain? Motion carries. Moving on then to Community Development Authority.
All right, so we met on the 13th at 6:30. We first listened or talked about the, hang on a second, sorry. The overview of the Mid-American Economic Development Corps conference that Aaron and Kyle had went to, and they just kind of, they had provided us a summary the meeting before that we could put some questions together, and we just kind of talked about some of the things that were discussed at that meeting, or at that conference. Sounded like a really good conference and some good things to learn. And then we went on to start looking at what it would look like to market our community, to figure out how we get our name out there more, to bring in businesses. And it was determined that instead of, that would be smart to look at one goal instead of looking at all the goals in one shot, and then just to focus on one and then work through that and then go to the next and keep working them together. So what we decided to do is to work on expand the commercial tax base in the village of Cottage Grove. Originally, the language was expand the commercial tax base in the village of Cottage Grove to ease the tax burden on local resident property owners. We kind of figured that was redundant. That was a given. That was something that was going to come from having a more commercial tax-based growth. We also discussed the fact that that would actually help with all the other things that we're looking to see happen in our village, as far as encourage employment growth, enhance the local community, grow business, local community, business community here, encourage provision necessary and desired goods, services, facilities. So just being able to establish more business will actually help bring in and ease up on a lot of our other goals that we're looking at doing too. And then what we did was we went through our strengths, we went through our weaknesses, and we went through our threats and opportunities, and said, okay, out of that, what would focusing on this one goal help alleviate, and we were able to make determinations there. Ultimately, we're going to take this in stages. We're just going to, at each meeting, go back to that goal and just focus a little bit deeper on that and go a little bit further. Sarah, do you have anything to add that we talked about? Aaron, anything? No? Okay. So that's the goal. We're just going to keep working on that, and then the whole idea is to come up with what do we need to do then to take that and put it into action. But to just identify things right now is what we're up to. So.
And maybe with that, a budget request for 2021, so kind of working towards that. So
in order to hire somebody else, we have also made the determination that we have a desire for all these things. How do you actually make it happen? And we would need a professional to help us through all that for sure. So next meeting would be the second Monday of February.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff.
Yep.
And then we'll move on to Library Planning Committee. Lisa?
So the action item is we discussed the free little libraries in our community, and there's one in every park except for Willow Run, and there's one at the Bank of Sun Prairie. And so our committee voted to have a Facebook post and post on the website for the village about the free little libraries and finding out where the rest of them are in our community. A lot of people have them in their front yards, and we thought it would be a good engagement of the community. So on the memo in the packet, there's a recommendation about maybe the type of language to use, if it is okay with the board, to put that on the Facebook page and website for a month. Just asking, is there a free little library near you? The Library Planning Committee is asking for your assistance in mapping out the locations around our village, and please comment below if you know of a location. For the Facebook, but for like on the website, maybe to have the Village Hall or Parks and Rec phone number to call.
I'll move to have staff post on Facebook and then add to the website to address the free little libraries in our community using the sample language in the memo.
Is there a second? Okay, motion second.
Question.
Yes.
Who would put the map and list together? The village staff or library? Who would gather all of this data and then?
So once we had the data, I think there is already a map of village parks. And so we were thinking maybe it could just be on there with it.
But there are more little libraries than just at the parks, right?
Right.
And so then you'd add those in.
Right.
And so the library committee would add?
Yeah, I
those in
mean,
there.
we could do that, yeah. Cool. Depending on how many responses we get.
Any other discussion? All right, having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries.
Thank you. I got a couple other things.
Okay,
I'll do too.
congrats to that.
Thanks.
I was wondering, I thought there was more to the meeting.
We had a presentation by Michelle Roach with Promote Local regarding communication and outreach, and the Friends had hired Promote Local, and they'll work with us regarding focus groups and surveys of the community so we can determine the support for a library. Upcoming events, the Friends group meets February 13th at Monona State Bank. There's a Loud in the Library at the Monona Public Library. The Penny Library is opening, and there's a gala on February 29th, and there's a book club meeting in Cottage Grove at 1855 Saloon, and the book is Wuthering Heights. And that's on February 12th. The next meeting for Library Planning Committee is February 5th at the Municipal Building, and we'll be hearing from Mark Eibach from South Central Library System. And in March, we'll be heading to Madison Community Foundation for a presentation about all the different types of programs, events, features that a library can offer. And then we'll tour the Madison Central Library for ideas and perspectives on what they included in their library and the popularity of the features there. So that's March 4th at 4:30.
Thanks, Melissa. And then we had, Cindy Nelson had indicated her support for the social media, which we had just approved, and Cindy was here earlier, but she had to step away, so we'll include that in the record as well. Then we had the ad hoc architectural committee, and we covered the request from Grey Wolf for the approval of general development plan for their hotel located at the parcel in the Commerce Park. I think we covered all that. There were just some suggestions from the committee around, really making the hotel work in that space, and the questions about parking, et cetera. So I think those were all covered well, and they'll be back. This is just the first round. Melissa, anything else to add to that?
No, that was about it.
Okay. Moving on then to Parks, Rec, and Forestry.
Okay, we met last week. We had a couple items for action. I don't know how we're doing on time. They're not pressing. It's Music in the Grove and stuff for summertime. I could go into it tonight, or we could.
I was going to put them on the next agenda.
Okay, those will be on the next agenda. We are starting to talk about the 5th edition to West Lawn Master Plan. If you get any questions about that park, Sean and I met with MSA, so going to get the ball rolling on all of that and get the residents involved in different levels of surveys and in-person meetings, so there's more to come on that. So we'll have a couple action item things in February from Parks.
All right, thanks Heidi.
Yeah, thanks.
Then moving on to Deer Grove EMS.
We met last Thursday. Calls for the year were down a little bit, mostly attributed to the construction on I-90. There weren't as many accidents as there were last year. We approved the interfacility billing rates, also discussed the MTM agreement so that we can actually bill for any interfacility runs that we do. We referred that to Attorney Dan Barker for review, and we'll look at that next month. We also are going to continue the collaborative response agreement with Marshall EMS, and we did the chief's review, which went well. And our next meeting is on February 20th in Cottage Grove at 6:30.
Thanks, Pro. And then move on to reports from village officers. Lee.
Okay, I've been actively involved in the 3-minute rule over the course of time, so I'm going to put it to a test tonight and see if I can say my thank yous that quickly. When I was appointed village attorney, the population was around 700, now it's around 6,600. I've served under 3 administrators, 9 village presidents, and so many board members, it wasn't worth counting. So I just want to say thank you to all of them. First of all, I want to say thank you to the village board for your support and your hard work. I hope people understand that the village board doesn't just sit here every Monday night looking pretty and then leave. They have a lot of homework that they have for their committees. They have a lot of homework for the village board. And I hope that people understand you owe them a huge debt of gratitude, and also their families, because they're giving up that as well. You may not always agree with the decisions of the board, but by the same token, over the course of time, I really haven't found anybody who's not sincere about their belief. I may disagree with it, but they're sincere. And so instead of just cranking on the board, it would be a good idea if you said thank you, and also spent more time kind of following what's going on. The village has so many, when I first started, there was no Facebook, there was no this, there was no that, and now you don't have any excuse not to be informed. One of the reasons I stayed on as long as I did is because of not only the relationship with the board, but also the relationship with the staff. The village is extraordinarily fortunate to have the quality staff that you do. And that starts at the top. Matt has provided wonderful leadership. I've worked with good administrators, I've worked for not so good administrators, and he's one of the good ones. The same with our staff. Many times I've thought, well, we'll lose this person, we'll lose that person, but they've always been able to come up with a lot of great ideas. They're innovative, and they work together as a team, and that is greatly appreciated. I know that the individuals who are interviewing tonight, I know all of them personally. I saw that one snuck in under the radar. They're all very fine attorneys. They'll all be good fits for the village. I shared some of insights with Matt and John, and as I have said before, I don't plan to just drop everything. I'm more than happy to continue working on various projects, and I would never leave a transition undone. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I truly
loved this job, and I appreciate the people I work with. It's made it all worthwhile, so thanks.
Thanks, Lee.
All right, we'll move on to item 10, the communication listings. Business, consider the approval for the vouchers is first. Hold on, I got one question that you can.
I want to point something out before you prepare for approval. There's a invoice to Blue Stem that is 25% of the total grant. Tree inventory. The invoice that's on the list is made out for $12,000, which is not correct. It should be $4,600.
That's a lot of trees.
I know. So I will get with Sarah tomorrow and find out. It appears to me it was just a typo. So we'll get that corrected. Check won't go out for $12,000. We'll make sure it's right.
How much did you say it was supposed to be?
$4,682.
And then I had a question just about on page 5, the AMI system antenna and install on the water tower. I just need, what is that?
That is the automated metering infrastructure that's been underway for years. That part was the actual antenna, cabling, and the work to hook it into our base station at the bottom of the tower and then hang a GPS antenna just outside the door at ground level. Just a portion of that overall project we've been working on for years.
Yeah. Okay, thanks JJ. I knew there was something going on there. Any other questions?
I've got a question. I see we're giving Marty some allowance for work boots. Is that provided to all Public Works employees? Yep. And is it like an annual thing, or is it? Okay.
If they buy them, you have to get 125.
Yep.
Towards it. Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. We have a motion.
I'll second.
All right. Any other further discussion?
Do we need to clarify the correct dollar amount for?
And that's a good point.
You got it? Yep.
All right.
This is on top.
Thank you, Lisa. With that addition, right? Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstained? Motion carries. All right, then we'll move on to correspondence. Matt.
Yes, I snuck in on the agenda by giving John a note, so that's technically correspondence, but I wanted to publicly thank Lee for his dedicated service, and I'm personally grateful for all his guidance and work with the village, and you know, he'll be missed. There's no doubt about that. And I also got, as Lee mentioned, there wasn't Facebook. Was there internet when he?
No. We're two strings that you pull together and yell through.
So, and we're having a drop-in get-together. We stop by at some point between 11 and 1 o'clock on Wednesday at the Municipal Services Building.
Other than what everybody got from Jeff regarding Dundrins, which I provided to Lisa, that's the only correspondence I have.
Did you get from Nicholas?
Oh yeah, I got that late too. That's on Lisa as well. So, or Will, regarding noise as well, or the
Sustainability.
Sustainability, yes.
Yes, sounds like you got your first recruit.
I was going to say, didn't we put a committee together?
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention earlier, like, did we not?
I was waiting for future agenda
Yeah, we'll be doing that in the first February meeting. We now have what appears to be yet another volunteer, and Heidi also volunteered from the board, so other things have kept the agendas quite full, but yes, we're going to be underway. I didn't want to say that because it wasn't on the agenda, but I will just circle back with Nicholas and let him know what's going on and ask him if he's volunteering, because that would be great. Upcoming community events.
Saturday, February 1st is the Lions Club annual Hog Days breakfast at Flynn Hall between 8 and 11 a.m. Donations are accepted and will go towards scholarships.
All right. Any other community events coming up? Got a lot of things planning, obviously. We heard about Hot Trot tonight, and music in the Grove is already percolating, so we just need the ground to thaw out a little bit and grass to come back. Future agenda items.
So the sustainability committee.
Sustainability will be coming up. We'll have the usual suspects, I think.
We could have appointment of the emergency management director.
Yep. Okay. All right, then we will move on then to item 11 is make a motion to go into closed session. The Village of Cottage Grove Board will enter a closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.85, parentheses 1, parentheses E, deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, investing in public funds, or conducting specific public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. This closed session is to conduct a village attorney interviews. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. That was like in sync. I don't know. We'll give it to Melissa. Because I think I heard her this year. Better year. Roll call, please.
Lindberg. Aye. Radcliffe.
Aye.
Valencia.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Allen.
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye.
Russell.
Aye.
All right, we're in
That section.